To be happy, I had to separate myself from my child. Hi, my name is Amelia. I will tell you my story, but first please subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification button. It's possible to make such videos, but using the app in description, you can help us reach more people by donating via PayPal. And don't forget to send us your testimony if you want to share it at hollyholy@gmail.com. You are blessed. Of all the problems I have faced in my life, I never thought a child would be the worst. The years after I got married had been smooth sailing until the day I gave birth to my first. There were so many complications that everyone thought I was going to stay there. But my family did their best to support me with prayers. Olema, my husband, was almost losing his mind. He was so stressed that the slightest cry in the hospital corridors would make him jump. I had finally given birth after a week of contractions. It was total joy. Everyone was celebrating, and I was tired and kept thanking God for this gift. After I was discharged from the hospital, Olema acted like a real father hen. He took care of me with all the attention in the world. Very quickly, I was back on my feet and could take care of Gabriel. We had just a few years of peace because when Gabriel was 2 years old, he fell ill. I spent most of my time at the hospital at his bedside. The tests really showed nothing concrete. The worst was the uncertainty and the helplessness in front of my child's suffering. I had left my job to take better care of him. I was living only for my son because he was having a crisis at the second. One morning, I went out for breakfast, and when I came back, I found my son covered with a sheet, and the nurse was writing something down. "What's going on, nurse? Why did you cover my son? He will choke, don't you see?" "Madam, we are sorry, but your son has left us." "To go where?" "Gabby. Gabriel, my baby, get up. Mama is here." I went out just for a few minutes. "How? You can't do such a thing to me." I was completely distraught. I was angry at myself for leaving my son unprotected. "It's not your fault, darling. What happened is God's will." "What will Olema? Why make me suffer like this? Give birth and then make the child suffer in turn before leaving him to die. Which God does that?" I was inconsolable, and day after day I was sinking. I was even close to depression. "I want another child," I said to my husband one night when he was trying to take my mind off it. "Are you sure?" "Yes, I want another child." Let's just say it was a whim of mine that Olema had indulged. I was pregnant again, and we had made arrangements to make sure everything went well. But the same story had repeated itself. It was the same ordeal of giving birth, the same stress for my sick child to end in death. Olema and I were compatible. We didn't understand what the problem was. "What do you want from me? Why put me through all this? Why give me children and take them away? All my life I have served you fervently. I have always been a devoted servant, and this is my reward. You are drowning me in a sea of sadness and pain. Tell me what I have done to deserve this." So I spent my time questioning God and never got an answer. "I don't think it's normal," my cousin told me. "These children died in the same way, at the same age. Something is wrong, certainly a curse. You have to go and be treated by a spiritual master. Go to a marabout." I am a child of God, a Christian. Everyone knows that you are a Christian, but there are demons that must be cast out in this way. In any case, your prayers have not led to anything. You are enduring the same suffering, so it is you who sees. It is out of question. God will be gracious to us. Who did she think she was to dare question God's authority in my life? I was in a state and decided that to prove them all wrong, I would have lots of children. But unfortunately, my attempts to do so were not successful. I said to myself, "Face it, Mrs. Olema, your cousin is certainly right. Perhaps you were cursed." So I decided, without my husband's knowledge, to go to a spiritual master, and Arlette accompanied me. "Don't worry, I know several people who have found solutions with this man," she kept telling me on the way. Once there, he made incantations and gave me potions to drink and an amulet to put under my bed, which I did. I waited impatiently for the results, and yes, that time I had given birth without any problem, and my child had no problem. My husband thanked God, and I went home to give gifts to the spiritual master. My son was growing up and becoming a young man, and this made me smile, because in our house nothing was really going well anymore. We were financially down. Olema and I were arguing all the time. It was now impossible for us to be in a room. without bickering over everything, and especially nothing. The peace that once reigned in my home no longer existed. You are not the couple I have always known. Do you think you can go on like this? My mother-in-law told me, Mama, Olenma, and I don't understand each other like we used to. You have to get up and fight for your home because it's as if you don't believe in it anymore. Look at you. You have even lost the zeal you used to have for God. We hardly see you on Sundays in church with this child. How do you plan to bring him up in the fear of God? I really didn't intend to go back to God because he had turned his back on me when I needed him. But things were getting worse. Olenma had even fallen ill. We didn't have the necessary means for his care. I had gone back to the fetishist, and he had told me that there was nothing he could do about the situation. I was completely desperate. Even after the support of our families, it was still not working. He was dying, and every day he was losing a bit of himself. So I had no choice but to go to church to pray. I was ashamed, but I had to. The first few days, Roland refused to go with me. He wanted to stay at his father's bedside, it seemed, but later I realized that even when he was free, he refused to go to church with me and would leave when the pastor entered the hospital room to pray for his father. One day, we had organized a family prayer session for my husband. Everyone was present. During the prayer, I noticed that Roland was still trying to get out. The prayer was persistent, so he shouted, "Stop. Stop torturing me. He will die anyway. His fate is already sealed." "Roland, what are you talking about?" I asked. "Your father will not die." "Yes, he will. Ask Auntie Arlette. We'd have already taken his soul." My cousin was indeed the only one absent during this prayer. At the request of the pastor, my son revealed that he belonged to a circle with my cousin, and their mission was to destroy our home. He was nothing but the reincarnation of my previous children, who had been sent by my cousin. They were not strong enough to continue the mission, so they died at the age of 2 years. In order to strengthen the bond, a point of contact was needed, which was nothing more than the amulet I had used before I conceived him. It kept him alive and opened the doors for them to operate in our lives. Hence the financial downfall, the quarrels and illness of my husband. We rushed home with Roland, and when we got there, my cousin was already there holding the amulet in her hands. She was planning to run away with it. My son was like hypnotized and was acting like a robot since the beginning of the prayer. It seemed that the amulet contained his soul, and my cousin wanted to get hold of it so that he could be reincarnated. At the pastor's behest, she had given it to us, and I had to make a decision: break the amulet to free my husband, which meant ending Roland's life, or preserve the amulet and let my husband succumb. He is not your son, my child. He is a spirit of darkness. We have no other choice, the pastor told me. It was with great pain that I agreed to break the amulet as I watched my son fall like a house of cards. I was in so much pain, my happiness had just been taken away from me. As for my cousin, she had confessed her works in my life. She was feeding on my pain, and every time I conceived, she sent this spirit to possess my children. I couldn't believe that my own blood hated me so much. Olenma is healed, and with God's help, we are trying to rebuild our relationship with God, who had nothing to do with it. It will take time to forgive my cousin. Until then, Shalom.